Hello and welcome back to Nicole's Needlecrafts. I'm Nicole, and today I really wanted to talk about a few different knitting patterns that I have made before that I thought would be really great options for Christmas or holiday gift giving this year. I've got all sorts of different patterns on here. Some are for adult gift recipients, some are for like children or babies. Just a bunch of projects that I've tried out before, really enjoyed, and thought they would be a great option to share with you all this season. I recognize that some people have a little bit more time on their hands than others, so some of these patterns are quite big and involved, and some of them are quite a bit smaller and could probably be created within the span of like 3 days to a week, depending on how fast of a knitter you are. These are all free patterns, and they are mostly patterns that I would do again. In fact, I think I would do all of them over again because they were just plain fun, enjoyable, and relatively simple. So with that being said, let's get into it. I want to talk about 7 knitting patterns that I would recommend to create some holiday gifts to give this season. First one I wanted to talk about, and I've just got my iPad here, and I've got Ravelry with my notebook kind of pulled up for my past projects so I can show you the pattern and what I made with that pattern. The first one I wanted to talk about was the pattern Fell. This is a men's cardigan pattern. It is by Martin Story and published in the Rowan website archive. Again, it's a men's cardigan pattern. I wanted to make a big cozy cardigan for my dad one Christmas to kind of just wear around the house. I believe I made it in the size XL. I may have made it in even 2X. There's a whole bunch of different patterns, sizes for this pattern. I mean, you've got a really wide range of options if you've got somebody who is on the larger or the smaller side who you'd like to create a sweater for. This pattern is a mostly textured knitting pattern, so it's fairly simple. I think most of the techniques that you're using here to create the texture, if not all, are simple knit and purl stitches. So if you're somebody who really enjoys that texture created by different knit and purl stitches, this is the pattern for you. It's a really nice, just kind of simple open collar concept. It requires bulky weight yarn. I know that I created kind of my own bulky weight yarn by holding 3 strands of Winter Glow yarn, and I got that from Hobby or Hobie. Not entirely too sure how they want me to say that, but I call it Hobby. Probably it's not pronounced that way, but whatever. Anyways, I took their Winter Glow yarn, which is a much finer yarn, and I held 3 strands of it together to create the gauge that I needed to get that bulky weight effect. Mostly because I couldn't find a yarn that was already bulky weight that had the kind of color variation that I wanted for my dad's sweater. I knew that he really liked kind of the royal blues and the navies and kind of richer colors alongside more neutral colors, and so I ended up using Winter Glow. I think I used color number 6. Number 6 sounds correct. Anyways, I'll put it on screen here which yarn I used. Fabulous acrylic wool blend yarn, highly recommend it. I know that it is a bit pricier than some other yarns, but you do get a ton of yardage when you purchase a ball or a cake of that yarn. So highly recommend that. Again, I used 3 strands to get that bulky weight. And overall, I found that this pattern was really accessible, really easy, really just enjoyable because it was so easy. I think that if you were to make a size smaller than I did, it probably would take a lot less time. Again, I made, I think, an XL or a 2X because I knew I wanted that oversized fit for my dad. Plus he's got pretty, broad shoulders and whatnot. Really enjoyable. If you're a fast knitter, you could probably, knit this up before Christmas even. All depends on you. If you're someone who can just like knit up a sweater real quick, this might be great for you for this holiday season. Moving on to the next pattern. You can find all of these on my Ravelry as well. I've got myself on here as Nicole, aka Nicole's Needlecrafts. Should be linked down below as well if you want to go and take a look at what I've put on Ravelry there. Let me just navigate back. And the next one that I wanted to talk about, the next pattern is called, I believe it's pronounced Fielkos. It is a sock pattern and it is by Drops Design. I think at least half of these patterns are by Drops Designs because I just absolutely love their style and their accessibility of patterns. They've got so many different languages. They're really quick to respond if you have questions. They're just a fantastic company for free patterns. So again, this is, I believe, pronounced Fielkos. It's a sock pattern. So if you're thinking that there's that special someone in your life that you're willing to put your arthritic little hands into working some socks for them with some really fine yarn, maybe I'm projecting there, then this is a beautiful sock pattern to do that with. I have only knitted one of the socks. I have an issue with finishing projects. I also was moving at the time that I created this sock, so I don't even know where the yarn went for this. But I created one and I loved it so much that I took some pictures and I posted it up on Ravelry. I used, I believe, some cotton yarn for the navy blue, and then I used some, I believe it was Patton's sock yarn in the color copper. I think that's what it was, for the like orange warm tones for the color work of this pattern. If you're somebody who really likes color work, who really enjoys sock knitting, who really enjoys really fine projects, this is a fantastic project for you. Something I do remember when I was doing this pattern and other drops sock patterns, it might just be a me thing, because with stranded knitting, you know, if you're a tight knitter, you know, you're not going to get a whole lot of stretch. I did find that even though I would have wanted the smaller size for my own feet, I had to make the larger size in order for it to fit. And I think that is just because of the stranded knitting technique. Just a little heads up for you guys. Definitely create a swatch for this one. Create a gauge swatch to figure out if your color knitting, stranded knitting technique is a little bit tighter, because you may need to size up. Next up, I have another, surprise, surprise, another drops pattern. So this one here I wanted to talk about was actually a baby item. And this was a little baby hat hood thing that I thought was just probably the cutest thing I had ever seen when I first saw this pattern. It's called Baby Legalis, which my nerdy soul just loves that as well. I don't remember the yarn that I actually created this in. I think it was a wool blend yarn that had kind of like a very subtle neutrals ombre effect to it, where it faded from one color to another. I created it in a very small size, just kind of because I really loved the pattern, but I wanted to just try it out, and it used a very fine yarn, so I didn't want to overcommit to a large size, let's say. So yeah, it's basically like a little hood that kind of goes down over the shoulders of the baby. It's created in this really beautiful fine rib with a sport weight yarn. Just absolutely gorgeous, super adorable. It's got that little kind of like cape bit up little hood. I don't know what to call it. I don't know, there's like a little point. There's a little point on the top of the head, and it's super, super cute. Really easy pattern, really enjoyable. Could probably knock something like this out in a few days to a week, depending on how fast of a knitter you are, and if you decide to use, you know, the correct gauge, or if you decide to use a thicker yarn and kind of gauge up or down, whatever. Really enjoyable, really, really cute product. If you have a little newborn babe in your life that you'd like to make something for, I think this is a great option. Let's talk about a shawl pattern. I feel like shawls are a fairly common thing to gift to other people, especially around the holiday season. So let's talk about a shawl pattern that I really liked. This one I found online for free in the Handy Little Me blog. Specifically, I decided to go through the Outlander collection. This one I did find online for free, but I believe you can also purchase, if you want to like have a version that you can like download without ads and print out, you can also purchase the pattern. So this is Claire's Rent Shawl from the show Outlander, and it says that it's by Louise Bolanos, and again it is found on the Handy Little Me blog. And this is just a really, really beautiful, simple knitted shawl. And of course, if you like the show Outlander, then you'll really enjoy this as well. It was originally published in May of 2020. I made it a few years ago, so I think it was fairly new when I made it. I think I made it in 2021. It uses a nice worsted weight yarn, which at least in my area in Canada is a very, very easy yarn weight to find. I know that I used just kind of like scraps of wool blend yarns that I had lying around to make this. I used mostly a burgundy wool blend yarn, and then a couple of other accent colors of beiges and browns that I had laying around. And I think it turned out really, really nice. I did alter the pattern a little bit just towards the ends there, where I kind of created this geometric, I don't know, L shape at the ends of the shawl. And I only did that, not because I wanted to alter the pattern, but because I was running out of the yarn that I was using. So I had to kind of take my accent browns and beiges and wrap them around the edges. It was really easy to do, so if you are trying to use up some scrap yarn and you're afraid you're gonna have to alter the pattern, it's a really simple pattern to do that with, so I wouldn't worry too much. It doesn't need to be altered. It's an absolutely beautiful pattern. Really, really simple, really good first shawl as well. If you are really interested in a pattern for a first shawl, highly, highly recommend this one. It's a very simple increase to a nice large triangle shawl. So beautiful pattern, lots and lots of people have made it, so there's lots of different examples of different colors and things that you could make. Can't recommend it more. Again, that's Claire's Rent Shawl from the show Outlander, and that is by Louise Bolanos from the Handy Little Me blog. We're gonna get to another sweater pattern. I'm gonna go to a sweater that I made for my mom for Christmas. Again, this is a drops pattern. Absolutely love drops. I believe what I did was I actually used a yarn that was quite a bit thinner than an Aran weight gauge, and I just upsized the sweater. So I did like a size large or a size medium where I should have done a smaller or medium. Use the smaller yarn, but make sure that the size wasn't too much smaller. So I kind of sized up in which size I made. Hopefully that makes sense. This pattern is called the Nordic Knots pattern sweater. Again, Aran weight yarn is what's recommended. I used Caron Latte cakes in like the beiges and browns colorway. I'll show it up here, which I believe they say that the Caron Latte cakes are a number 4 worsted weight, which is very similar to Aran weight. But in my humble opinion, it's a lot thinner than that, and that's why I sized up while I was making this pattern. Let me know in the comments below if you think that that yarn, the Latte Cakes yarn, the really like fuzzy fluffy one, if it's more of like a number 3 as opposed to a number 4 worsted weight. That's kind of where I'm going with that. Anyways, back to the pattern. Really, really beautiful geometric yoke on it. A relatively simple pattern. You've got the colorwork yoke, and then you've got kind of just the rest of the bottom of the sweater is just stockinette stitch and ribbing. I believe it was a top-down pattern. Yes, it was a top-down pattern, which I actually kind of prefer. I've done bottom-up sweaters. They're fine. Top-down is really nice because I like the way that the stockinette stitch kind of falls. And I also think that when you're starting a sweater with a colorwork yoke, that's the part that you're most excited about, and that's the part you want to start with. So I kind of like the fact that you start at the collar and you work your way down. It just makes sense to me. Really, really easy pattern to follow, easy way to attach the sleeves on there. It's something that I believe took me about a month, because I remember I remember going to my friend and saying, I don't know why I started a sweater for my mom a month before Christmas, but I did, and it worked out. It was an absolutely beautiful sweater. Again, I used Caron Latte cakes, so there ended up being some striping involved, which was really cute. So yeah, it's just a really good pattern, really nice, manageable pattern to do a month or two before the holidays, and highly recommended. Very, very adorable. Now, I did want to insert, this is a little bit of like a self-plug here, but I did want to insert one of my own patterns, which I've got up on Ravelry and on Etsy for sale, because I think it would be a really, really easy, really beautiful pattern to create to give a gift for the holiday season. Now that pattern is the stained glass cowl. I recently attended my first in-person knitting sale kind of thing, like it was a craft show with my friend, and this cowl was by far the one that got the most attention, the most people like looking at it, touching it, getting really interested in it. And so I thought, you know, it would be something that would be a really easy project for Christmas, so I'm going to recommend it to all of you. Basically, it's a very simple pattern where if you're even a beginner knitter, I think you could do this pattern. You basically just learn how to make metered squares, and then you put them together in a really simple rectangular shape, and it's all in how you create kind of the button band and wrap it around a person that makes it into this beautiful kind of V-shaped cowl. And I called it the stained glass cowl because I decided to use a crochet hook kind of slip stitch joining method for all of the metered squares, and that created kind of like an outline between all of the squares, which looked a little bit to me like stained glass. So again, that pattern is on Etsy and on Ravelry. I try to keep the price pretty low. I think it's up for like $5 Canadian. Don't like, you know, super pricey patterns, so I try to keep them nice and cheap. US dollars, I think that's like $3.50 maybe, something like that. Yeah, it's a really nice, easy pattern. I think you could make one of these within a few days to a week again. If you need to make multiples for people, also a great option for something that a lot of people could use. So that is the stained glass cowl. Again, you can find links to that in the description down below. Moving on from my little self-plug there, I wanted to get into the last pattern that I wanted to talk about today, and that is the Miss Cookie little dress. This is another drops design pattern. I told you I'm obsessed with drops. And it is just the absolute cutest thing that you could make for a baby or toddler for the holiday season, in my humble opinion. If you're planning on doing like a holiday photo shoot or something with kids, I think this would be the absolute cutest thing ever. There's also a hat that matches with it that they've got a pattern for, so if you're looking for a set, perfect. I made this for a coworker a few years ago who was about to have her first child. We found out it was going to be a girl, and so I made this little kind of dress thing. Super, super cute. It does take a little while because it is a sport weight yarn that you're using, so it's a very fine, lightweight knitted product, but it is just so cute. I don't know how else to explain how adorable this pattern is. I remember making it in a fairly small size. I think I made it in like 6 to 9 months size, something like that. But it's like baby's first Christmas, super cute outfit, that sort of thing. There's some beautiful, beautiful variations of it that people have made on Ravelry and posted pictures on Ravelry, so I highly recommend taking a look at that. I made it in the classic red and white color that they've got in the product photo as well for the drops design version. Just adorable. Some of the tags that they have here, it is a sleeveless dress that you would put over kind of a long sleeve. It's very like Norwegian or Scandinavian inspired. It is a top-down design. It's just super cute. I don't know what else to say. Have a look at it for yourself. And it was a really easy pattern to follow, considering that there were so many different design elements, like some of this like scalloped edging and stuff I thought would be super difficult. It was super, super easy. There's some really cool techniques that you can learn from this pattern. So I do highly recommend it as well if you're interested in learning some new techniques, such as the scalloped edging, such as color work. And what better way to learn new techniques than with a smaller project for a baby or toddler. Super, super cute. I am really looking forward to when some of my friends have kids because I want to make this again for them. Adorable. So anyways, that is it for the video today. Those are the 7 knitted patterns of items that I've made before that I thought would make great holiday gift giving ideas. Let me know, of course, in the comments below if you have tried any of these patterns before. Connect with me on Ravelry. I would love to see what you've made from these patterns. Also, let me know if there's a front runner here for you, if there's something that you think that you'd really like to make this holiday season based on this list. They're all fantastic, really accessible, and fun patterns. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.